Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, where we will be discussing the impact of COVID-19 on overseas education. Specifically, we will dive deep into how it has affected the plans of students heading to college this year and what students can expect for the following year in admission processes. So before we get started, I would like to introduce myself. I am Niharika Sondhi, the founder and the managing director of EdNet Consultants since 2002. In my 18 years of experience within the field of overseas education, as well as Indian education, going back to this, in my 18 years of experience within the field of overseas education, as well as Indian education, this is the first time that we have faced a problem of such magnanimous proportions. The coronavirus pandemic, as we all know, has brought all kinds of commercial and non-commercial operations to a standstill. The education industry is no exception. Usually this time of the year, EdNet would be buzzing with good news in the form of acceptance letters pouring in, and we would begin with the visa application processes and even arrange for a pre-departure counseling. Sadly, this year, the process has changed. We are all now working remotely from home, researching and trying to figure out what could be the best for our students. So despite the setbacks, we plan on staying positive and are working as per our usual office timings to help our students. At the same time, we are constantly motivating, encouraging them during these difficult times in whatever capacity we can. We understand the confusion and the anxiety some of you may be experiencing, which is why I decided to host this webinar. Opening it up to the public, I wish to give hope to anyone who finds themselves in this dilemma. We are joined here today by students preparing for undergraduate studies, students going for their masters, parents, counselors, and eminent educators. I would like to thank you all for giving us your time and assure that together we can all find appropriate solutions that would be best fit for you. We will be trying our best to answer your pertinent queries. Of course, we can't speak for the universities, as each university have different plans to handle this pandemic. Our intention is to understand the nature of our problem and come up with an optimal solution. In this regard, we had prepared a questionnaire which was shared with students prior to this meeting. We will go through their responses and sharing our own opinions based on our learning and understanding as we move ahead. At this point, we will start with students and parents with their queries and doubts as they grapple with the current situation, followed by a research of 50 students indicating their preferences. This research has been conducted by our EdNet team member, Gayatri. Thank you, Gayatri, for assisting us in this process.
No problem, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I now pass on to Gayatri. Gayatri, do you want to start with this, please?
Sure. So I'd request everyone to mute your audios before, please. And then I have a couple of students and parents with me, those who will be sharing, those who have a lot of questions. That questions can be useful and relatable to everyone here. So we have Siddharth. I believe Siddharth is here.
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Hi, Siddharth. So do you want to maybe start by sharing your questions with us?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. This is Siddharth Boparai from Amritsar. And I have received admission into UMass Amherst, University of Minnesota, Rutgers, and Miami. Firstly, I'd like to thank Niharika ma'am and EdNet team for that, because I don't think it would have been possible otherwise. And as far as the online classes are concerned, during these trying times, I see my cousins and friends taking online classes for their school and college. And I think that maybe it can be a little boring and taxing for me, as I'm not sure if I'm the kind of person who can sit in front of the computer and comprehend well from the screen in comparison to learning in a face-to-face classroom with a physical presence and reading from a paper. I'm not sure at this point and wondering all kinds of things like, should I continue to take online classes or move ahead with the next session and defer my admission?
So yeah, thank you so much. We have actually conducted a survey, and in it we have covered the similar question, to which I will share the results with you on your screen. So to sum it up, Sirvat's question was more of, are we actually ready to take online classes? So this survey was based on our current students. And if we look at the percentage, 44.2% of students are actually saying yes, that they are ready to take online classes. We do have 30% of students also saying not very sure. And then we have about 23% of students saying no, to like complete no to online classes.
Yeah.
So we'd like to ask ma'am now as to what she has to say about online classes and her opinion. Does she truly recommend it?
Okay, before we go on to this question, I forgot to just mention something, that I will be presenting the consolidated summary of our discussions to the audience who have so graciously joined us here today. So you can leave your queries in the chat box for now, and I will address them before concluding our session. I will also be sharing with you of an online which has been conducted at NYU. So without any further ado, let's begin this. As far as online classes go, do not get disheartened. These classes are not like any online classes which you are going to take on Coursera or edX, etc. So these are reputed professors from renowned colleges, who are taking up heavily administered and planned classes, just like it could be, you could be just be sitting in a classroom. So it is also to be noted that top universities have been improving the standards of instructions in their online modules, even prior to the pandemic, which should make it easier for students to fulfill their educational requirements. The quality of education, of learning, will not be dipping, even though you might be missing out on that in-person experience. I was talking about, so we're not handed the short end of the stick, majority of our global peers, who are across universities and countries, are also sailing in the same boat as you. So even say the local residents will be taking online classes instead of attending regular schools. So this is not a blow that will be affecting anyone particularly or individually. We're all on it together. The only thing is that the universities are working really hard to make these online classes as interactive as possible. I have seen some insights into it. The virtual classrooms that they are trying to create is quite innovative. So, I don't think there should be any harm taking online classes. Thank you. Next question, Gayatri.
Yes. So I think we have another speaker named Akhil. Akhil, are you here with us?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. Hi, ma'am.
Hi, Akhil.
Hi, Akhil.
Hi, everyone. This is Akhil Gulati, and I was planning to go to UBC this fall. And after speaking in length with my parents, I personally don't mind deferring my admission to the spring intake, because I know that even if the program starts this fall, that I would not be too excited, as I feel that I would rather use those months to do something productive online and make this opportunity to do internships. And I was also thinking, ma'am, if you suggest that it's a good idea to do so.
Okay.
1 second, Gayatri, Akhil, you also spoke to UBC about this, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did UBC have to say about it?
Ma'am, I talked to UBC about deferment, not this particular topic.
Okay, right. So Gayatri, you want to talk about this?
Sure. So we have a similar question here that we had put in our research. The question here says what Akhil also said, would you like to defer your admission to the spring session? So if we look at the options here in front of us, so we have about 34.6% of students saying yes, that they would like to defer their admission to the spring intake. And then there are 38.5% of students saying that they're not very sure, they are undecided to this deferment process. And then we have about 23.1% towards saying no. So we have a lot of confusions and misunderstanding towards this whole deferment process. So I think ma'am can really help students out, those who are undecided. Thank you.
I hope I'm very audible and I'm loud. Can everyone hear me very well, clearly?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes.
Yes.
So let's go on this. Not all schools are offering a spring session, but several universities might now be offering the same to their prospective students, but we're not sure, right? So on this end, the parents and students need to wait and watch to see how things take a turn this fall with respect to the effects of the virus. So with this perspective, taking a deferment is a very good idea. However, as mentioned earlier, it is important to ask your university whether they even allow deferment or whether a spring session is available for your particular course or campus. Please understand that not all universities have the same way of working or conducting their classes. So this is a very, very important thing that you need to connect with your university to see whether there is going to be a spring session and if they are allowing you to defer it to the spring session, or if you're going to take it all the way to the fall next year. Thank you. Next question, Gayatri.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Gayatri. Was I able to answer your question? Akhil?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Okay, great. Next question, Gayatri. I think they muted you. Just
I'm so sorry. Hi. So I think Ipshita is here with us, who has another question.
Ipshita, you're here?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Okay.
What's your question?
Hello everyone, I'm Ipshita. I am going to Parsons School of Design for my bachelor's degree. I believe that this year is so confusing and I still don't know whether I should take a gap year and use this time to improve my skill set and gain some experience in designing. So do you think that this option is ideal for design students? Because it would be difficult to have online courses in this line of study.
Okay. So we actually had this question in our questionnaire also. So the question actually, to sum it up, says, will you be as a student ready to defer your admission to fall 2021 and take a gap year? So we have about 46.2% of students saying no, they're not ready to defer and start it next year while taking a gap year. There are about 24.6% of students saying not sure, undecided. And then there are about 15.4% of students saying yes to actually defer and take a gap year.
So if you ask me, even if you're going for, this is specifically for the undergraduate and different for the masters, yeah? So during these trying times, taking a gap year, especially when you've decided to go overseas and study, is really not a bad idea. If you're really not interested in doing online classes, there's so many activities that you can be involved in. You know, there are diverse online courses, there's volunteer work, there's internship, which could be a blessing in disguise actually, you know, as this would be a good time to explore your aims, your areas of interest, introspect, and maybe find your true calling. I know many students are confused and indecisive at this moment. So if parents are not worried about taking a gap year and are more comfortable keeping them home for a year, considering stay overseas is also not a cheap proposition, you can consider a gap year for sure. Now, this has been an easy time for no one. As we stay within the confines of our homes with no respite in sight, most of us are coping for resolution to come forward soon enough. Now, scientifically speaking, a vaccine or a medical treatment strong enough to cause significant change across a global population is what seems to drive positive thought nowadays. All nations have rolled up their sleeves and are conducting back-breaking work and research to find a solution at the earliest possible. We all hope the vaccines come through at the earliest, or a medical breakthrough, till the vaccines are not proven successful. However, as far as my understanding and applied logic, next fall should be in a good position. Many of my students who had been science students and did not have a chance to study for the standardized test, or some students who were confused between two areas of interest even before this pandemic, did decide to take a gap year. Many of my design students whom I felt were not very well, they were not very well trained, or they were not very well sure about their skills. I did make them do a gap year to develop themselves. So if you look at it, a gap year is really not a bad option. But again, as I said, let's wait and watch for another month or so and see how things are going. There could be a time when you just wake up in the morning and you realize that the pandemic is over. I mean, I know that's being a little far-fetched, but let's just wait and watch and see how things move forward in the next couple of months. We are still in the month of May. Thank you. Next question.
Yes. So we have our next speaker, Kudrat, here.
Hello, ma'am. This is Kudrat from Chandigarh, and I'm currently confused between Purdue University and University of Waterloo. But I just wanted to know if it would be a better idea to stay in India and take online classes from an Indian university, or take online classes from a foreign university while sitting in India. And this is my biggest dilemma, and I wanted to ask you what I should actually do in this situation.
Sure.
I understand you kids are going through dilemmas, but I'm sure that the Indian universities too are working hard to organize these online classes. So if need be, just like universities overseas, so however, if you plan to move forward to your choice of a foreign university with full intentions next year, then it is better to take classes conducted by them instead of Indian universities, so that you do not lose out on time. Taking online classes by Indian universities seems like a good option only if you decide to continue your education in India for your undergraduate studies. A clear, thorough decision needs to be made. So if you are comfortable with staying in India and you have good options available right now, then look into that. I suggest do not rush and do not panic. The whole dilemma is with 2020 to 2021 sessions, after which I am 100% confident that the things would be sorted out.
True.
So if you have, Kudrat, some very good options for you here in India, look at it, but you have to make that decision that would you want to continue with the Indian school, or what would you want to do after this pandemic is over? Hopefully in a year, we have some kind of a vaccine. I hope I was able to answer your question, Kudrat.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So if we
Actually, want to go to the next one?
Yeah, so we have Mrs. Kataria with us. She's a parent here. Mrs. Kataria, are you here?
Yeah. Yeah. Hi, ma'am. Hi, Niharika, ma'am. How are you?
Good, good, good. So nice to see you again.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Hi, I'm Bhavna Kataria from Delhi, and my daughter has received an acceptance from NYU Tisch School of Arts. And all thanks to the EdNet team, they've been super supportive. Now I'm referring. I'm asking for their help for my son too. He's already registered for them with them. And my question is that since the classes are happening online and there is no physical experience, which we had hoped for at least for a semester or two, we as parents are hoping that it must be cheaper for the university to conduct classes online. So just like other students, we also wanted to experience the diversity of culture and have our children gain international networking in their classroom. But since it is not going to take place this year, so don't you think that the university needs to restructure their fees?
So,
Nancy, what do we have here?
So we have this similar question that we had put. If we look at this option here, you know, which option would you like to prefer, the online classes or the online classes from India or the online classes from foreign universities?
No, she's talking about restructuring the fee structure.
So the fee structure, if we look at, we have about 82.7% of students saying yes, that it should be altered and, you know, a little bit made it a little less expensive. And then we have about 13.5% of students saying that it depends on certain criteria that they're not very sure of. And some are not very much, it doesn't, for a very few percentage of students saying that it doesn't really affect them. So most of the students are in to get their fees altered because it's being, if it's online, the first semesters at least.
I personally believe that it's not very easy to prepare online classes. You know, it takes a lot. Like right now we have been doing all our sessions online, and I think that, you know, it's really hard. So we can't say exactly that online classes is easy, you know. A lot goes into it. Many students have taken online credit courses, right, while in college or in high school. So these credit courses, they have a cost. And that is what the university, I believe, is charging. Like what you save is your cost of living and your travels, which makes it easier and cheaper for you. So I don't think the university will restructure their fees or lower the fees. I'm not sure if the course is taught online, just because it's being taught online, because even if you study a credit course, that credit course has a value. You are paying the university, it could be $2,000, $5,000, $4,000, whatever each university has their charges per credit. So if there's any change, you must check with the university, with the fee structure that they could have put up on their websites and online forums. Or, you know, there is, however, some universities, I know for sure, who will not be enhancing their fees this year, which they normally do every year. So, you know, this is something that you have to check online, and this is not something which is going to be specifically for you. So fee structuring, restructuring will be for all the students who will be attending that university. So if a university is trying to do something on that, they will let you know. But in my opinion, I don't think that could be happening. And we do have a few educationists here in our webinar today who are from the United States and are listening to us. So maybe they'll have something to say about it towards the end of the webinar.
Sure.
Thank you. Next question.
So,
yeah, there was an article in Economic Times on 2nd May.
Yeah.
A lot of angry parents are asking for a refund.
Yeah, so a lot of the university students are asking for refund, and they will get refund. Universities are not going to hold on to their fees, Reema. Each one will, it's like going in the airline, you know, if the airline is not taking off, if there is no flights, you can definitely take your refund because it has nothing to do with you. There has been changes. So I don't think there will be any university who will not be giving their refunds. And by the way, right now, what refunds are you talking about? Because most of the universities have extended their deadlines for payments of their reservation of seats. So I think most of them have extended it to June or July. And even if someone has paid for it and is not planning to go for it, I'm sure the universities are making arrangements for the refunds.
Right.
Yeah.
So next question.
Yes. So we have
the May 1st was the deadline, then it moved to May 15th, then June 1st, and then July 15th. So I don't know. They are extending the deadline for the payment of just reserving your seat.
Yeah. So we have Mrs. Gupta here, Poonam Gupta. She had a question regarding her son. Ma'am, can you hear us, Mrs. Gupta?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Hi, I'm Poonam.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm Sojus's mom.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, we've got a couple of offers. We've got a couple of offers on scholarships, and thanks to the EdNet team, very unexpected scholarships. In these trying times, we're looking for help from the university, maybe at level 1, year 1. Choice of universities will change for us, but the amount of help they can give in terms of scholarships will definitely be a decisive, play a decisive role in deciding which university we finally do choose. Do you think they are considering this? Do you think they are actually going to extend a line of help to students of today facing these dilemmas?
So thank you so much, ma'am. We have this question in our questionnaire as well. That, the question said, are you interested in more scholarships and financial aid from the universities? If you look at the percentage of students saying yes, it is about 51.9% of students, almost 52, saying that yes, they would want more scholarships and financial aid because, of course, XYZ reasons. Then we have about 15.4% saying yes to the option, saying the students who have actually reached out to the universities asking for more scholarships and financial aid. There are certain percentage, about 21.2, saying no, they're not so interested in the financial aid and they have sufficient resources to sponsor their education. And then we have other options saying that, they do not really know and do not, know about how to go on about this whole process of applying for scholarships, more scholarships and financial aid.
So I think where our students are concerned, EdNet students are concerned, each and every one has been given that help and support to apply for scholarships and aids. But since this session is for the public, let me address it more widely and say that students can definitely write to the universities and request them for additional scholarships and financial aid if they feel that this is very important in going ahead with their dream college. There are times when the universities could have exhausted their scholarship funds. So you can request them for aid and let them know as to why you need that additional support. Start a dialogue, start a talk with the international student centers, service centers at your universities. If the university can help and see reason into it, I'm sure they will try their best to help you during these trying times. There is no harm in reaching out to them. Remember that all global students are in the same boat. Our situation is no different from the one who's sitting next to us or sitting in front of us. So I personally believe that you should not give up trying. And if you think that this is so important for you to, send your child abroad, then this is a good time to let the university know your dilemma and your financial situation and see if they can help you. And I'm sure, Mrs. Gupta, about all those universities that you have applied and got admission in, there will be universities who will reach out to you and help you get through this.
Thank you, Niharika.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Gayatri?
Yeah, we have a scholar here with us. This is Janvi Batra. Janvi, are you here?
Hi, ma'am. Hi,
Janvi.
Gayatri.
Hi.
Hi, Janvi.
Please tell us your question.
So, hi, I'm Janvi Batra. I'm a master's student. I have already been admitted to 3 of the schools that I wanted to attend. And keeping in mind that all the programs I have applied to and a normal master's being 1 or 1.5 year, I'm wondering, where does a master's student like me stand in terms of deferment?
See, most of the master's students have a year, sorry, okay, did we do a research on this? Sorry.
Yes, we did. We also had a survey for masters, wherein this question, as Janvi said, we have this question with us, which says that since most of the master's program have a 1 or 1.5 year duration, what is your next move? So about 75% of students said yes, that they do plan to defer their admission and start it next year. And then there are 8.3% of students saying that they'd like to get started with their course online as soon as possible. And then rest are not very sure.
Okay, in my opinion, why does a student go overseas to study? I mean, why would someone want to go? It's because they want to experience that internationally, wants to observe an international, diverse kind of an environment, learning, different teaching pedagogy, different styles, be involved in clubs, organizations, experience a different life. I mean, that's why they want to go. But if you are going to be spending 50% of your time in India doing an online course, especially for the master's student, then this really doesn't make sense. Most of the master's students have a year-long program. And during this short period, if classes are conducted online, even if it is for one semester, I suggest you all defer your admissions. This sort of defeats the purpose of going overseas, because the whole purpose, as I said, was to get an international experience with diverse students, learning from the physical presence of a professor and your peer group. Hence, you can use this time, especially for the masters, which I will not call it a gap year, but to build your skills through work experience, which will not only make you smarter and sharper when you go for your master's program in the future. Most of the master's students, it's just in India that we have this mindset that as soon as our undergraduate is done, we rush for our master's program, but we don't need to do that. Use this time to gain and enhance your skills. And in my opinion, Janvi, you definitely need to defer your admission. In fact, this is for all the master's students who were planning to go for a year. And if the university is offering the first semester online, it really doesn't make sense. Yeah? Any other questions?
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Now, I just got this question about taking a transfer. Is anyone on mute?
Hi, could you please mute yourself, Siddharth? Thank you.
Okay, so I had a question coming in the chat box which says that, what if I study in India and think about transferring to a university next year? Okay, so this way I can, have the cake and eat it too. Now, although as an education counselor, I do not recommend this to my students, I still find it necessary to mention that students can, if at all necessary, take admission to an Indian university and transfer to their preferred college that has a credit system after a year. Now, please note, only United States of America has a transfer facility for credit systems. And therefore, there are pros and cons to this situation. So I suggest you all be prepared for the transition and challenges before making this vital decision. Please note that the scholarships that you all are sitting with right now may not be valid when you do a transfer, because there may not be many scholarships available for transfer students. And it could be also possible that right now you've got into the school or your dream school, but next year you may not get into the same school as a transfer student. So keep those thoughts in mind when you are considering a transfer, right? So thank you so much, Gayatri, for your complete support, and all you students for coming up with the questions. I hope I was able to answer all those students who are currently in a dilemma of leaving in the fall 2020 session. But as I mentioned earlier, when we started this session is also to talk about the impact of COVID-19 for students leaving 2021. Yeah. So the first thing which I would like to, I have a question which has come up here in the chat, is the impact of COVID-19 on standardized tests. Oh, this is the only thing which I can see positive happening with the COVID-19. What is it? On a positive note, these circumstances have also led to standardized tests, exams such as the GRE, the GMAT, and the TOEFL, as well as the APs, to be conducted online, sitting at home. Previously, students had to travel to exam centers, but now they can fulfill the same from the comfort and the safety of their homes. This is a big plus point for my students who have been in residential schools in Doon, Wellams, or students who have been in areas where they had to travel to cities to give their exams, can now give these exams sitting at their home alone, you know. SAT exams, which used to be conducted only 4 times a year, maybe, don't hold me responsible, this is what College Board is saying, may be conducted frequently, making it easier for the students to appear for tests and retests. The AP exams, which are being conducted this year in the month of May online, sitting at home, will start with the model, will be an example to College Board on the success of using a proctor while giving these exams at home. This adjustment has given a way to revolution in the education industry with great positive scope for paradigm shifts. So this is something which I have found really very interesting, but we still need to see and watch as to how these tests are going to perform. And not only that, how are the universities going to be looking at these test results for admissions?
Yeah.
Anyone has any questions on that? Okay, so we have another one which is coming up, which says, how will applications be read during the week of COVID-19? That's a big dilemma.
Yeah.
You know, in normal circumstances, applications were read based on your GPA, your SATs, contributions to school, your extracurricular activities, letters of recommendations, AP scores, etc. But this year, COVID-19 has really challenged the traditional way of reviewing the applications. The GPA may not be an accurate depiction, as many schools and colleges are determining results with a pass and a fail. So there is no grades. Test dates are being cancelled. APs are being conducted at home and has been reduced to 45 minutes only, all of which may not exactly give the true story of the student's scholastic abilities or intellectual potential. Now, I have talked to a lot of universities and they say that they understand this and will show flexibility in reviewing the GPA. And even where building their profiles are concerned, the student profiles are concerned, this year is going to be truly innovative. Just imagine you're in a lockdown and you have to express yourself. You have to display your strong qualities. How are you going to do that sitting at home? Please, let's not just talk about online classes here. So students will have to show how they can express themselves sitting at home in a creative fashion through activities in disciplines of community service and leadership experience, which will be further talked about in my next webinar, which is going to be held on 9th May 2020, where I am going to be talking about various ways of enhancing your skills and intelligence through ... as that's a question mark, which I would want you all to join me in my next webinar. Anyone has any questions on this? Isn't that so interesting, you know, how creative? Now we've got to think outside the box as to how can we impress our universities. Okay, anyone has any questions on this? No? Okay. Another question was, how will the COVID-19 impact admission timelines for fall 2021 admissions? As you know that this session is basically for students going overseas. I have not talked, which I will talk about, universities in India where you all can think about even looking at, but right now just let me address issues of overseas international education or global education. So yes, there are going to be changes. Currently, it's too early to say, in my opinion, with universities becoming test optional and a possibility of them starting fall classes later than the expected dates. Like usually we would have US starting in the month of August, are now maybe pushing it to September, or UK starting in September, now pushing it to October. This could lead to delays in deadlines for fall 2021. I am not sure. However, we must wait and watch, as no one is sure of the impending changes, and we need to take things slowly as per progression of time. The next few months are going to be very challenging, and there will be a lot of things which will be happening and which will give us a deeper understanding as to what we need to do and how we can take this further. This is also a good time to research and undertake these virtual tours of your universities of interest, as all physical campus tours this year have also been cancelled. But why not learn a bit more about your schools instead of just going for the ranking thing, you know? Go and attend the webinars, attend the sessions which the universities are having, and learn more about it. I think this is a fantastic time for you all to research. So where the deadlines are concerned, I think we will just have to wait and watch for another month. I would say June, July would be a good time, or maybe August will be a good time to know whether the early decisions, early actions, or the UCAS deadlines, etc., are going to be taking place in the same timelines as we have been having previously. Right? Yeah. Now I know that I just want to, Gayatri, is there any other questions which you feel that I need to address?
So we have a very interesting question here for our future students similar to the topic. Mrs. Millie Jain says that, can you elaborate the role of SAT this year, as few universities are dropping SAT for upcoming session 2021?
Okay, that's a very good question. Now, Mrs. Jain, I don't see you, but I would definitely like to address this question. There have been previously, over the years, universities have been going test optional. Okay, there's this thing called dropping SATs or going test optional. So when we talk about test optional, it could be a possibility that the universities are looking at other areas of evaluation. Could be your grades, or it could be your grades, or it could be SAT2s or your APs. But being test optional means that you do not necessarily maybe have to take the test, and you can submit your academic grades for evaluation for admissions. I cannot say this for sure, because College Board is still testing to see how the APs are going to be conducted this May, sitting at home with the proctor. If that becomes successful and they're able to monitor this, because remember, students taking the AP exams are, I think, smaller in quantity vis-a-vis students who are taking SATs. So we just have to wait and watch to see and get some feedback from College Board to know whether SATs will be conducted sitting at home with the proctor online, or are they not going to conduct SATs maybe in August or the near future. You know, we don't know about it, So we will just have to wait for another month or so to get a feedback from College Board. But right now they are saying that if everything goes well, they plan to conduct it online, and they plan to conduct it frequently. So everyone will get a chance to sit for the SAT. Another question which you have, Gayatri?
Yes, so we have a similar question regarding SAT. A lot of students are also asking about their IELTS and TOEFL exams.
TOEFL exams can be conducted sitting at home.
Oh, great.
So this is a feedback which I got from Saachi. We need to look at it again. That can we conduct? We can give the exam, the TOEFL exam, sitting at home.
Okay.
Will be proctors who will be administering the exam.
And then we
have. As I said, there's some good things are also happening. I'm quite happy about it because I remember my students who have been in Doon and Wellams who have had to travel distances, miss their classes to go and give their SATs or to give the TOEFL. So if this happens online, it's going to be a big revolution.
Yeah.
Anyone has any other questions?
I have a student here, Mr. Bhavik Gandhi, who is saying, texting personally actually, and asking to throw some light on MBA admissions for 2022 program in the US.
The MBA, I'm going to make this really short because we do have, we would like to have John also join us here and give some insights about how his university is looking into admissions. But before that, the MBAs are going to move on as it is. As I said, the GRE and the GMAT exams are being conducted online, but I think there's a bit of a problem as to, you're not able to use your rough sketch pad, so you have to do it on the computer. That does not make it very convenient for the students. So I think they all are waiting and watching to see if the GRE, GMAT classes exams can be conducted in the centers, right? But they are going to move on as usual because we are doing a lot of MBA applications and I don't see any changes happening right now where admissions overseas are concerned. They're going to go as per the timelines.
Okay, great.
Okay, so I would like to conclude this, and I don't want to rush into it, but I really want John to get some chance and an opportunity to speak. And at the same time, I would like Gayatri to show a video as to how an online class is conducted overseas. So you all can get a little bit of an understanding that what would be an online class. Yeah. And maybe give you, maybe you'll be able to sleep well tonight then. Knowing that, an online class is just sitting in front of the computer and just looking at a screen, that can be really boring. So we are all in this situation together. So it's just not the students, but even the universities, yeah? They're also working very hard to see how they can execute their teachings, impart their learnings in the most conducive manner possible. So hence keeping in mind the health and the safety of the students, it is essential that we trust in the process and we believe that a solution will arrive through the regulated bodies in due time. Meanwhile, we can contribute to the situation. How? By letting go of this panic and fear, maximizing this period, by bonding with families and our near and dear ones, even if it is online, and also establishing strict lockdown and self-isolation rules that allows us to prevent the spread of this deadly virus. Everything is on a wait and watch situation. Even I was online with the US consulate just yesterday, and they too do not know. Everything is a wait and watch. So give it another month. And if there is some important information, which I feel I would like to share, we do have your email addresses and we will send you an email. Yeah. So don't worry, you all will be informed as soon as we get some more information. Till then, be safe, healthy, and stay at home. I will be sending you a message for our next webinar, which is going to be on learning more about skill enhancement and profile building for college admissions 2021. And yes, my students who are already with EdNet, Please do we're always there for you. As I said, we are working remotely, but we are working 6 days a week. And anytime you need us, just get in touch with us. And we are working as per the time planner mentioned in your plan of action or your roadmap. So there is going to be no deviation from there, right?
Right.
Now, I would like, before Gayatri shows you an online class on NYU, which is conducting a film course to help demonstrate the inner functioning of online classes, I hope this session was helpful and this has given insights on the impact of COVID-19 on international students or global education. And thank you all for just being such a wonderful audience. You know, I had to really time myself because I have a habit of overstretching my time. I would now like to ask John. John is right there. If he can share some fresh insights. He's been in the education field for decades. Right, John? John is also the Director of Admissions of Johnson & Wales University, which is the top-ranking hospitality school in the United States of America. And John was in Bryant University earlier, and I'm sure he has a lot of insights which he would want to share with you all. Right, John?
Correct. Thank you, Niharika, ma'am. It's so good to see you. I wish I was going to be in India. I was supposed to be there in March, but unfortunately, because of all of this, I had to change travel, and universities have been moving very quickly for the safety of the students when everything happened in March in the United States. And within our own state, the smallest state in our country of Rhode Island, we have 11 colleges and universities, some of them quite well known. The first one to close was Brown, and they moved online, and then all the other universities followed quickly in focusing on safety. If you take anything, I've been listening to the whole presentation. My thoughts are with you, parents and students. This has got to be one of the craziest times that we've faced as a country and an educator. In my 20 some odd years of being in international admissions, we've never faced such global issues like we are right now. So there's certainly a lot of anxiety. From a university perspective, I'll get back to that safety. We took care of all of our international students and made sure they were safe. And likewise, a lot of US universities moved in that fashion and diverting funds to help students get home or make sure that they had a place to go or just keep them on campus in a different area that was practicing social distancing. And we moved students into certain dorms, particularly at our university. What's happening this fall? This was a big topic of concern during this hour-long presentation that ma'am so delightfully looked into for all of you. The number one, I think, is visa on the concern of a US university when it comes to international students. Can they get visas? And that question is not only in India, but across the world. Some countries will open up quicker than others. Some cities in India will open up quicker than others for that visa processing. That is a concern. But back on the US side, we are trying to open as safely as possible. So I know there was a question about RISD, which is 2 blocks away from my campus, and they're planning on opening in the fall. We're planning on opening July 6th to our culinary students because we have laboratories that were canceled in the spring because that's something that can't be done online. Like some of you interested in art schools, whether that's Parsons or whether that's RISD, those topics might not be easily covered online. So just like our labs, we call them they're culinary labs, and they were canceled. We decided in consultation with the governor of Rhode Island, again, US is very diverse, so each governor is kind of making decisions right now on who opens. Rhode Island, we've been very blessed and lucky that we haven't had major concerns. They're around us, New York City, Boston, Massachusetts, they've had some issues, but Rhode Island, we've weathered some of the storm. And so universities, my wife works at Bryant. They're opening in the fall. RISD is opening in the fall. Johnson & Wales is planning to open in the fall. We've had online for a while, particularly our university. So having students go through this hybrid is a very easy process for us because we've been offering online probably for about 5 years or more. So we've had that. Some of the other smaller liberal arts, Ivy universities, they might not have had an online platform. So they've had to move quickly to that online platform. So you're going to have a variety of responses to, is online a quality offering? I think it depends on how long that university has been doing it and whether or not the transition in the software and the comfort with faculty is there. And I even think, certain faculty are probably much better suited than others for teaching online, even though they're incredible faculty members. So there's a lot of diversity here, and you need to kind of take a look at each school and try not to make generalizations about online being right or not. It's about the right fit, even for the student. I was reading an article just recently before this, is that to that topic of asking for a refund, is that one student just needed in-person education. So online didn't work for that particular student. Not that the online platform was bad or is delivered bad, but that student couldn't learn that way. And I think we all know that even within our own families. I have 2 children going through this online learning. One is much more suited for it than the other. But, I think you as parents and even the students with some understanding of yourself and your own learning ability to learn whether or not that online platform will work. But I want to get back to that safety. Safety is of most importance. I've heard from a number of Indian families, and that's their number one concern. Do they feel safe sending a child all the way over, to the US or to another country at this time? And, I personally would have a hard time with that if it was my own children. So I think, looking at an online, looking at a gap year, as Niharika ma'am mentioned in this presentation, is good. And it's an individual almost about fit, whether to go overseas or not. And I'll end with this, is that some universities might open for the fall for mostly their domestic populations. But the international question of whether an international student could get there or a group of international students could get there, it might be a hybrid as a resort for that student. But we as an institution and others that I've chatted with are not putting any conditions on deferment at this time. There might be a couple of universities that are concerned about deferment and class load next year. But at this point, from a lot of my colleagues, we're being very flexible, partly because we are asked to be flexible. I'm working from home. From home since the beginning of March, and that had to be flexible. And I think a lot of universities are just being flexible at this time. So if you feel it's best interest for you and your family to make a decision not to come to the US, defer to January or defer to September. And as Niharika ma'am mentioned, there's a lot of other things that you can do. I know students really want to get on with this next chapter of their life, and I certainly have empathy for all that you're going through on that. But as a family, if it's right or not at this time, and that's for you to make, and for us as universities to handle these concerns as best we can. We are still learning about this pandemic. To be perfectly frank, there's a lot of research and a lot of data that's coming in, and we are digesting it both locally within our own states here in the US, but at the federal level, they're also looking at ways to get the economy going. And part of that is to wait and see. So I think we need to be patient at least for another month to hear if consulates in India will be opening up. I've heard June that they were going to open up back up in India, but I don't know if that timeline is accurate because they're measuring on the ground what's happening within all the different cities in India. Maybe certain cities, like Chennai might be, a little bit different shape than Mumbai or Delhi. And so those consulates might open up sooner than others. I don't think it's going to be a one-day embassies are open for visa issuance. I think it's going to be scattered. Hopefully I've covered some of your concerns. I appreciate, again, Niharika ma'am for inviting me. I was very curious to hear what on the ground Indians are thinking, and not rely just on media, but to hear what the concerns are coming from parents and students. And I've done a number of these, and I think my concerns for international education, I think we need to do more than ever now in these times of pandemic. So thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, John. That was really, we got good, fresh insights, information from your own perspective that is right across United States as to how things might move forward. But as you said, it's a wait and watch situation. So we've got to be patient, right? And to conclude, I know we have overshot our time. And again, I'd like to say thank you again to John. And we do have many, many more educationists. I see Lisa on board, and I see Waterloo and Canadian schools also here. And I'd like to thank each one of you all for taking out your time and coming here. Hope this information was informative. If anyone has any questions, can definitely get in touch with us. And though you may not be enrolled with us as a student, we will try to answer your queries through the chat box. And that's it. And I think Gayatri is going to conclude by showing you an online video from NYU. And I hope you find that interesting. It's just 5 minutes more, right? Thank you.
I'm just going to take a second to start it. 1 second.
I'm full-time faculty here at University Tisch School of the Arts. I teach film production. I was approached by Annie Stanton, who is in special programs, about the notion that NYU was going to teach an online class.
So our high school residential program can only take in 56 filmmakers in the film program. We wanted to offer the program to more students because there's a very large demand for these programs.
The residency program prides itself on people from all parts of the globe coming together, staying in New York City, and working together in crews. So I knew that if this was coming to the table, there was something special.
The program online this year exceeded my expectations vastly.
You're here, yet you're not here. You're at Tisch, but you're not physically with me here in the East Village. It doesn't matter. Over the next few weeks, you'll be doing what students do here on a daily basis, collaborating with your crew members, developing ideas, filming, editing, sharing, reworking, and starting all over again. I had to start thinking about how could this residency program exist online. When dealing with cinematography, we have to think the way the camera thinks. We have to think in terms of numbers, f-stops, focal length, focal distance, exposure, film speed.
The video lessons incorporated the faculty members' personalities that you were also showing rather than telling.
I like teaching to an audience, so it is a little different, but at the same time, the communication is still there in different ways. I did one-on-one conversations with people. You set up your calendar and you say the days and times that you're available, and then a student will book a time and you get an alert. And you have the ability while you're talking with the student to bring up a film that they've made, and you can pause it. They can play the video, pause it. You can have a detailed conversation where you're sitting down and looking at the video one-on-one.
We were able to talk to students around the world, around the globe. It allowed me to be a mentor to folks I would probably never see. They're on different continents. And I think that is just like mind-blowing.
I got to, oddly enough, know the students a little bit better on the online program because I was talking to them on an individual basis than in the residency program. The final project, I encourage people to find ways to collaborate with someone who is not in the same geographic area as them.
You spent the past 3 weeks seeing people's work. So who do you want to collaborate with and why?
Some people would film and then have someone halfway around the world provide music or color correct or shoot additional footage. So they collaborated in ways that were without boundaries, and you just can't do that with a residency program. I think that's an inherent phenomenal trait of the online class.
Students and faculty can collaborate in these crew hubs. They could upload and download assets. They could download, edit, re-upload. They were very active in the crew hubs, and I think they found that to be sort of a special place. You know, that's where they got their work done.
Jared, who was a student, he emailed me like 2 days ago, and he was like, I'm really thankful for you. I'm really happy that I got to know you. You challenged me, and I'm really inspired to go to NYU now.
You are very much pushed to produce, and the final project for this program was actually the movie I'm going to use for my application to NYU.
It was just something to just like, I don't know, feel really proud of, because I never thought that that would translate online. But I think it really worked.
When it comes to something like online education, it's like, oh, how is it going to change the classroom? And the answer is for the better.
When you go through this experience of taking a curriculum and then putting it into an entirely new environment, you really have an opportunity to examine, is this the best way to transfer this particular knowledge? We got to say, we've been doing it that way, but might it be better to do it this way? Now, you know, anything's possible.
Great. Thank you all for being here. And I hope this was information that you were looking for, and we will be connecting with you soon for our next webinar. Goodbye.